Welcome back to Grain-Free Insights. I'm Lee. Today we're going to talk about why people eat gluten-free. There's a lot of reasons, but probably the primary reason is if they have celiac disease, which is a disease that attacks your upper intestinal system, also known as your upper villi, and it makes it very hard for you to absorb nutrients. And of course, if you're not absorbing nutrients, you can get extremely sick. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about celiac disease, but I will link to some excellent information about it in the show notes below. So that's one reason why people, and the primary reason why people eat gluten-free. The second reason, there's something called, I hope I'm getting this correct, non-celiac gluten intolerance. Some people call it non-celiac gluten sensitivity, but that means that you do not have celiac disease. Instead, something's happening in your body, and I think science is still working on trying to determine exactly all of the conditions that go into this, but something is happening in your body where if you eat gluten, you get really sick. A lot of people have been tested and told, oh, you don't have celiac disease. You don't have to worry. You can eat all the gluten that you want. In fact, they can't, because if they do, their body explodes. Diarrhea, headaches, maybe skin rash, vomiting, pain in your stomach. I mean, it just goes on and on. There are a lot of people that have non-celiac gluten intolerance that don't realize it. There's also a lot of people that have celiac disease that don't realize it. It's estimated that a majority of people who have it have not been properly diagnosed. But when people tell you they eat gluten-free, if you think it's the flavor of the day and they're just doing it because it's a fad, you know what? They're probably not. They're doing it because they get so sick if they eat gluten that they know to avoid it completely. My body will shut down for about a week if I get even a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a crumb. And this is an important thing to understand because for me, I'm highly sensitive to gluten, so sensitive that if I walk into a bakery where they use free-flowing flour, I get a reaction. Flour stays airborne, and if you breathe the air, you get trace amounts of gluten going into your body. That's how sensitive I am. However, there are some people that have celiac disease that are non-reactive. That means that they can get contaminated with gluten through a small amount of cross-contamination, or maybe just by eating gluten, eating a piece of bread. And gluten, of course, is wheat, barley, rye. For a lot of us, it's oats, or anything that's manufactured that contains trace amounts of gluten. If they eat that and they're non-reactive, they don't feel a thing, nothing. The sad part is, who knows, maybe they're eating off a buffet and they're getting cross-contaminated and they go to the buffet every week and they eat the same stuff and they never realize that they're getting contaminated. Well, even though they don't feel the reaction, their body does. And their upper villi, their upper intestinal tract is still being affected and can lead to a lot of serious damage. And some experts say it's even life-threatening along the way over time. I feel very sorry for non-reactive celiacs because they don't know. You know, even though I get crazy sick if I ingest gluten, I've always felt it's my superpower that I react so quickly because I know immediately when I need to stay away from something or avoid it. And I'm very grateful for that. What else can I tell you about eating gluten-free? There are a number of people who have intestinal disease, intestinal issues, who have found that following this eating protocol, this has been hanging up or hanging around my videos, and I've had a couple people say, what is that book? Well, I'm about to tell you. It's called Breaking the Vicious Cycle by Elaine Gottschall, and it contains information on something called the Specific Carbohydrate Diet, also known as the SCD. The SCD is gluten-free, but it's also grain-free. And the reason for that is a lot of people with things such as ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, cystic fibrosis, chronic diarrhea, and there's a lot of connection with autism as well. Those people cannot digest carbohydrates as well as they might like. So if they eat simple carbohydrates, that means carbohydrates that are monosaccharides, which are carbohydrates that are the easiest to digest, they seem to do better. You might want to take a look if you have a lot of bowel issues. It might just be a way to eat to try that might help. Of course, I'm not a doctor, never have been, never will be. Anything that I'm talking about, you need to investigate it. You need to talk to your healthcare professional about it. But it is an interesting way to eat. And the book explains all of the science behind it. It's not meant to be a permanent way to eat, although some people just eat that way all the time because they have learned to enjoy it. For some, it takes about a year or two before they're able to start to eat grains without any issues. But I won't go into that. It's really not important. I just wanted, well, it is important, but I don't want the show to go any longer than it is. I just wanted to be sure to explain this since people had asked about it. No recipes this time, but never fear, there's lots of recipes coming. I'm working on a really good one that I can hardly wait to share with you. That'll be coming up soon. We're also going to examine eventually the difference between grain-free and gluten-free. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, subscribe, please. Here's why. If you subscribe, first of all, it lets me know you care and it gives me the incentive to keep doing these broadcasts, but it also shows YouTube that you really like it. And eventually it gets to the point to where more people are notified that there are these videos and yada, yada, yada. You know, it really helps. If you love this, or even if you like it, subscribe. Thank you. I will see you again soon. Take care.